Hello everyone, and welcome to a Protocol Cheese-esque type video. I'm going to try not to title it that, but I might end up doing it anyways because it's funny. We're going to go over some Grand Finals stuff for the Forza series. The rest of the video is going to be kind of like a early preview of what we're hopefully going to be doing with Forza in the future. So yeah, gonna be pretty fun, and this is just to get some information and ideas out there before do any like trailers or anything like that. So should be pretty good. So we've got the grand final schedule up on screen here. Hockenheim short, then the Homestead Oval, and then Road Atlanta short to close it out. 16 laps for the first and last race, 24 laps for that middle race of Homestead. Hockenheim was 15 laps. I bumped it up to 16 because the times on it and Road Atlanta were close enough. I don't know. I felt like it was easier to just make them the same lap count and easier for tire wear calculations and stuff like that, with it being an even number. So they were so close in lap time, I figured it was kind of dumb to have them one lap apart. Might as well just make them the same. It's not going to make a huge difference. It's not going to feel like that much longer of a race. It's about a minute, 10-second lap time. So it'll feel a little bit longer, but it's not gonna make that big of a difference. The Hockenheim race, first race, will have qualifying and will be, set up how like pretty much all the races that we've been doing have been set up with the qualifying and the practice beforehand and everything, setting the field. And we'll do that race. It's gonna be 7x tire wear for that one, and again 16 laps. And should be like, as far as like weather-wise, should be mostly clear and should be like earlier in the day, like early morning or whatever, for the in-game time. And then Homestead, I'm not sure what I'm doing on Homestead time and weather-wise yet. Not 100% sure. Road Atlanta will probably be like nighttime race to close it out. I can say that for sure. So Homestead will be something in between the two. Not exactly sure what yet. We'll see. But it's going to be 1x tire wear, which is essentially none. You're not going to have to worry about tire wear on 1x. So everybody will be on softs. No required pit. No pitting for this race. Just going to be 24 laps, soft tires the whole way, and just battle action all the way to the end. The reason why I did the switch up here, because obviously we didn't do it for the other oval race, is because Homestead is so different. Homestead is entirely in these cars going to be a drafting race, and I just didn't want that style of race to come down to like a strategy call, when the exciting part of like these drafting style races is having the pack together, like having everybody together and making crazy moves and stuff like that. So if the pack ended up getting like separated and it ended up coming down to that on like a green flag run with a pit strategy, like I didn't really like the idea of that. I feel like this race will be more fun and more exciting if it's, again, like just everybody in the same tire, no pit, just draft action the whole way. Like that'll probably be the most fun product to watch and to race, honestly. I think it'll work well both ways. So we'll see how that goes. I think it should work really well for this race. There's the other big factor too, which was if we have cautions, which I think we'll likely have at least a couple cautions for this race. If we were allowing pits, then you want to do 2 caution laps, because you want to have the caution lap to allow people to pit, and then the other lap afterwards to line everybody back up. And in a 24-lap race, and with how many cautions we could potentially have on this track, that would take up a lot of laps. 3 cautions? Only 3 cautions at the race, and we're already doing a quarter of the race under caution. And that's just like, I don't know. That just seemed like a bit much to me. I want as much green flag action as possible, hopefully. So, yeah, didn't really like the sound of that. Want as much green flag action as possible. So hopefully this setup for that race, lines up well for that. Road Atlanta, the last one, be 4.5x tire wear, which means everybody will likely be on the softs. Oh, and the starting order will be continuously inverted. So Homestead starting order will be the invert of the Hockenheim finishing order. The Road Atlanta starting order will be the invert of the Homestead finishing order. So there's that. And again, Road Atlanta, 4.5x tire wear. It'll probably be softs for most of the field, and the strategy will come down to when you pit with those softs, and if you want to like stretch it a little bit so that you're going to suffer a little bit in the short term, but in the long term maybe it'll be better at the end of the race. Or if you want to do the opposite, try to undercut somebody, like however you want to do it, that's where the strategy will come. But mostly everybody will probably be on softs. Reason why we're trying this for this track is I think this track is very technical, very tricky, and honestly very dangerous. So I just think having everybody on like the best, grippiest tire compound and having a little bit less strategy and more just like focus on that will be better for this race. I still think the strategy element is good with the pit. But yeah, just hopefully having everybody on the softs, because it's just Road Atlanta's very, very technical, very, very dangerous. And you know, I hopefully don't want it to be too much of a wreck fest for it being like the last race. I don't want it to come down to that too much. So I'm hoping that having everybody on the best tire will hopefully sort that out a little bit, and hopefully, you know, like avoid that issue. We'll have to wait and see if that ends up being true, if that ends up being like how it works out. But that's what I'm trying to do. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, so that's all the grand final stuff that I want to talk about. Now I want to show some cool stuff. Okay, so the Forza Formula Mazda Cup. So the next car that we're going to be racing is the Formula Mazda 15. The Formula Mazda 15. You can check it out in game. It looks like an Indy car, like an Indy car light, essentially. And I'm excited about doing the next season in this car. I think that it handles. I think it has a better balance of handling on the default setup compared to the MX-5 that we've been racing. Like it feels a little more balanced. I think the MX-5 was definitely a little more on the understeery, a little more on the tight side. Still fun on the default set, but I definitely think it was more leaning towards that. I think this one feels, again, like a little bit more balanced, a little bit more in the middle, which should be nice, I think, for us, you know, wanting to stay in the default set. Like, I think it'll be nice to have a car that feels more in the middle there. I think that'll be a little bit better. So I'm excited about that. All these times are subject to change, but it is the planned time. I do hopefully want to start the series in mid-April, so there'll be a good month off after we're done with the MX-5 series to give time to prep for this one. And also give time to get used to the car, but also make cool paint schemes. You'll have a lot of time. Everybody will have a lot of time to do that, which is good, and it'll be fun to see what new schemes people could come up with these cars. As I think you can make some really cool ones with these cars, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. Gonna promote it more than the MX-5 series. Obviously, the MX-5 series was mostly just like our normal group and our normal racers, but I'll probably go into like Forza Discords and promote this one more. Now that we have more of a handle on Forza, the reason why I didn't do it too much for the first series is because it was, at the end of the day, like a test series. Like I was still figuring things out, and I didn't want to go into that series not having, you know, a great grasp on the game yet, and like the different settings that we use and like the technical issues that we ran into and like all that stuff. I didn't want to go into, you know, a freaking 20-man lobby that can be a whole headache at times, you know, on its own, while also dealing with the game stuff that we didn't quite have figured out yet. That would just be too much at once. So the MX-5 series was more of a test series, more of a fun series for most of our regulars, and trying to like figure it out and trying to like figure out the game, get used to everything, all that stuff. But now that I feel like I do have a pretty good grasp on it, and now that I do, you know, feel like I have it down pretty well, I don't mind promoting it a little bit more, seeing if we can get a bigger field and seeing what we could do there. So that'll be pretty cool. We'll see how that pans out, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to promote it more. Okay. I can't read my own handwriting. Oh. Feature more track variety. There we go. I figured it out. Features more track variety. So I put down, this is like an example schedule. Again, some of these are like subject to change. But I put some tracks on here, and some of these are definitely tracks that I want to get to. So starting off with the Homestead Miami Oval again, but with these cars, just a full night on this. Again, I think this race is going to be awesome in the grand final, so I think bringing it back for a full weekend to start off this season is going to be great. Watkins Glen Short, that's a track that I wanted to get around to in the current series, but it was a little bit big for those cars. I think it's going to fit perfectly for these. That one's going to be really, really fun. Mid-Ohio should be fantastic. And also, with these cars being like kind of like IndyCar lights, you'll see that there's kind of a theme of that throughout this schedule. It's not the entire Indy schedule. That the Indy schedule has a lot of street tracks, and that's one of the weird lacking parts of this current Forza game, is there's no street tracks in the game, so we can't quite do the whole Indy schedule, but I'm trying to do like as much of it as I can in this series, because I think it kind of fits. Grand Oak Full, threw that in there. So obviously we did the Grand Oak Club circuit. In this series, we could move it up to the full circuit, try that out. The Eagle Rock short track oval, I think that'd be a great one to bring back with these cars. Silverstone, I think would be will be a lot of fun in these cars. I think that track will be great with these. So yeah, starting to move into some bigger tracks here too. With Silverstone and Road America, those are two like pretty sizable tracks. Obviously, Short Track Showdown, the one like exception big track that we did was the Daytona Kickoff. But starting to put some of those larger tracks in here. So yeah, those two. And then the back-to-back Indy GP into Indy Oval weekend. That'll be really cool. So trying to mimic the real-life back-to-back that they have there. And it's pretty close to it in terms of the timing as well. It's a little bit after, but it's pretty close in terms of the dates as well. In the regular season closer at Laguna Seca. That'll be fun. And then the grand final right now, the full Brands Hatch circuit. We did the short one in MX-5s. This is another one we're going up to the full circuit. Bring in the Maple Valley short back. That'll be Trolley for the grand final. That'll be fun to see how that plays out. And then the Road Atlanta full. So another one where we like did a short version, going to the full version and trying that out and seeing how that plays out. So that's the current idea for the schedule. Again, subject to change. Some of these might switch around, but that's what I have at the moment. And yeah, just supposed to feature more track variety, of course, than what we had in the Short Track Showdown, while still having like a loose theme. And that's kind of what I did here, and I think it's pretty solid. And I think there's a lot of good ones in here, and I'm really excited for a lot of these tracks. Let's see. Yeah, so 10 to 12 week season, grand finals at the end, returning, of course. We might use our new tire system idea that we had, that we were working on, for having like a limited count of like softs and mediums for drivers to use on the season, and having some strategy with that. That's something that we may experiment with in the series. I'm not fully set and sold on that yet, but that's something that we may do. So I'm gonna keep that in mind and keep experimenting with it and trying to figure out like the best way to implement it, because I think it could be pretty interesting and could be pretty cool. So keep an eye out for that. We might do that. Race length should be pretty similar. About 16 to 18 minute long races as far as the lap counts go. That's kind of what we're going to be shooting for, because that's kind of the safe zone that gives us a little bit of leeway, especially if it's an oval race and there's some cautions, or we got to get the order set at the beginning. It gives us a little bit of time, a little bit of leeway. Still a pretty long race, but not too long to where the replay will get cut down. So that's kind of what we're going to stick with. Might do a favorite paint scheme voting contest. I was just thinking of other fun things to do with doing the Forza stuff, and I just thought that was like the Track Madness thing kind of inspired me, and I was like, oh, that's a cool like equivalent of that we could do with the Forza stuff, is like a favorite scheme voting contest type thing. I thought that would be pretty cool, so that's something that we might do. Go back to the grand final being invitational, with there potentially being more racers in this series. And also, like, with the grand final being set from the beginning instead of being a bonus, like, late edition, late announcement, probably go back to it being invitational. How many, or invitational is not necessarily the right word, but, like, something you have to qualify for. Yeah, like, it's something that you have to qualify for. But will it be, like, 8, like we usually do in Halo? It kind of depends, because, again, it depends how many people we have, because you could technically do 24 person lobbies in Forza, and if it was regularly like that high, then it would probably have to be more than 8. So yeah, like we'll figure it out. We'll kind of like test the waters on that one. We'll kind of figure it out. It's kind of hard to say right now exactly how many it would be. Ovals may have a slightly different rule set. We're already experimenting with that in the MX-5 Grand Final with the Homestead, like with not having pits and just doing it that way. If that works well, we might continue with that in this series, and the ovals might see a different rule set than the road courses to improve the racing. The Indy 500 oval is obviously the big race in the schedule. Kind of like how with our MX-5 one, I feel like the opener Daytona one was like kind of the big hype one. I think that's this one for the series. And yeah, really excited for that race with these cars. I think that one could be really special and could be really freaking crazy with these cars. If we have a decent field, that race could be awesome. And we'll probably return to the same time slot for when the races take place, but we'll reevaluate it a little bit. Like I'll look at it and see if a different time slot works better, if we could find something that works better for people. Because I know that the current one is pretty rough, especially like globally, and that's, you know, not ideal. So I want to try to find, it could even involve moving the day, we'll have to see, but I'm for now sticking with the same time slot, but I'll definitely look into it and do some like polling and ask some questions and see if we can figure out a better day time slot that would, you know, hopefully balance better for like everybody in general, which is just, it's always a hard thing to do. You're never going to please everybody. You're never going to be able to have a perfect time for everybody with that. So I'll try my best with it, but again, no promises there because it's just impossible. Everybody has different schedules. Everybody has their own lives. It's just impossible to have a perfect thing for everybody. So I'll try my best, but we'll see what we can do. But anyways, that's all I have for now. So yeah, get practice in on those grand finals tracks. It's coming up very, very shortly. And yeah, get some time in on those, you know, get familiar with those. And take a look at this car. Again, it's the Formula Mazda 15. It's really, really fun. You know, definitely buy it, run some test laps in it on, you know, potentially some of these tracks or whatever tracks you like. I think you'll like the car. I think most of you guys like the car. It's really fun to drive, in my opinion. I think it should be really fun to race. And I'm really looking forward to some of the schemes that we can see with this car as well. Oh, leak spoiler. Oh, leak spoiler. Whoa. There you go. All right. I'm going to peace out for this one. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope that was informative. I'll come out. This is just like early stuff. You know, early preview for people that are interested in this stuff and want to hear this stuff. I'll probably come out with like a more official post in the future, like next week or so. And, you know, hopefully trailer and stuff like that soon. And like I said, like the promotion stuff, like all that stuff will come shortly. But for the people that, you know, watch this, you get a lot of that insider intel. All right, GG's for now. See you guys in the grand final. Good luck if you're competing in it. Oh, one more thing for that. I almost forgot. I think I mentioned this before, but if I haven't, I'll mention it again. Eligibility for this grand final is just you have to have done a race in the season. I didn't think it'd be fair to have like top 8 spots or whatever because we added this late. So, but I also didn't think it was fair if you didn't race in the season to just show up and be in the grand final. So, like, the compromise there is the only eligibility for this grand final is, again, you have to have competed in at least one race during the regular season. If you did, you're eligible to race in this grand final. So, there you go. There's that. All right, GG's. And, yeah, see you guys there.